You know the feeling, right? You try to call the Social Security Administration and you're met with, well, frustration. Long waits, confusing menus, it's a whole thing. But there's some news. Congress just pushed through a new funding package that's supposed to fix all this. So the big question is this money a real solution, or is it just a Band-Aid on a much bigger problem? Let's get into it.
Okay, to really get a handle on just how big this problem is, look at this number. In just the last fiscal year, the Social Security Administration lost a net of over 6,000 employees. 6,000. That's a staggering loss of people, and it's pretty much the root cause of why getting help has become such an ordeal.
And that really brings us to the heart of the matter, what we're calling Social Security's customer crisis. I mean, it's the classic story of an agency being asked to do way, way more with a whole lot less.
Now this chart, this right here tells the whole story. Check this out. Since 2010, the number of people who need Social Security benefits has shot up by 26%. Okay, makes sense. But at the same time, the agency's actual spending power, when you adjust for inflation, has dropped by over 21%. Think about that. More people to help, but way less real money to do it. I mean, that's a recipe for disaster.
And, this isn't just about numbers on a screen. For millions of Americans, what that gap really means is that their life has turned into a waiting game. A really, really long waiting game.
So let's break down what that wait actually feels like. The agency says, hey, the average phone wait is down to 12 minutes. And you think, okay, I can handle that. But here's the catch. That number conveniently leaves out anyone who gives up and asks for a callback. And the wait for those, well, as of late last year, it was over an hour. An hour. And if you need a real appointment, in person or on the phone, more than half of all people are waiting over a month just to get a slot.
Okay, but here's where the story takes a turn. There's a new development. Let's talk about this new funding boost and how Congress is stepping in with what seems like a lifeline.
So here's the headline number: $50 million. As part of a bigger spending bill, lawmakers have set aside an extra $50 million specifically for customer service at the SSA. The whole idea is to go right after those ridiculous wait times we were just talking about.
But, and this is important, this is not just a blank check. Congress attached some pretty specific rules. They're telling the SSA, in no uncertain terms, you cannot close field offices, you cannot cut direct services, and you must hire more frontline staff. Oh, and one more thing. You have to report your appointment wait times to us every single month. It's a clear push for not just improvement, but for some real accountability.
And this move is getting a thumbs up from some important groups. Jen Jones from AARP, and they're a huge voice for older Americans, praised the move. She basically said, this is great because the money is going exactly where it needs to go, to hiring actual people to help customers. So, problem solved, right? Money's on the way, everyone's happy. Well, not so fast. Let's put these new numbers into context, because we have to ask the big question. Is this funding boost actually enough to make a difference?
All right, take a look at this. This chart really puts it all into perspective. The SSA's total budget, it's over 14.8 times billion dollars. That new $50 million for customer service, you see that tiny little sliver? It's less than 1% of the total budget. When you see it laid out like that, it starts to look a lot less like a lifeline and, well, a lot more like a drop in the bucket.
And policy experts are definitely not breaking out the champagne. Kathleen Romig from the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities, she puts it pretty bluntly. She says, for an agency that's been starved for cash for more than a decade, this small bump isn't really a game changer. It might stop the immediate bleeding, but it doesn't cure the underlying disease.
So that's the key phrase here: chronic underfunding. Let's just call it what it is. This is what you get when your workload, the number of people you have to help, goes up by 26%, but the actual money you have to do the job goes down by over 21%. A one-time $50 million check, as nice as it is, just doesn't erase that massive hole dug over 15 years.
All right, let's shift gears a little bit, because there's another huge piece to this puzzle: the fight for in-person help. And this is a classic conflict, really. It's the push for new tech and efficiency versus the very real need for human accessibility.
So you've got these two competing visions, right? On one side, you have the SSA. Their goal, reportedly, has been to cut in-person visits in half, pushing everybody to do things online because, it's more efficient. But on the other side, you have advocates ringing the alarm bell saying, whoa, hold on a minute. They point out that a lot of seniors and people with disabilities just don't have the tech skills or the tools to navigate these online systems. For them, talking to a real person isn't a preference, it's an absolute necessity. And even when you try to get that in-person help, It's like running an obstacle course. Step 1, you find out you need an appointment for pretty much anything. Step 2, you learn that you're probably going to be waiting over a month for that appointment. And then step 3, according to legal aid attorneys, if all the appointment slots are full, they just tell you to call back later. And you're stuck in this frustrating loop that feels almost impossible to break out of.
So after all that, where does this leave us? Let's bring it all together and figure out what's next for the SSA. Is this new funding just a temporary patch, or could it be a real turning point?
Okay, here's the situation as it stands today. A modest funding increase has been approved. That's a fact. And it is targeted at some of the worst customer service pain points, which is good. But, and it's a big but, it's a small patch on a massive problem created by more than a decade of underfunding. Meanwhile, that fundamental debate over how we should even get help, online versus face-to-face, that's not going away anytime soon.
And all of this leaves us with one final and really critical question. The Social Security Administration is supposed to be a bedrock of American life, but let's be honest, trust in its ability to actually serve people has been seriously damaged. So is this modest funding boost going to be enough to start rebuilding that trust? Is it enough to provide the kind of service that millions of Americans don't just expect, but that they absolutely deserve? I guess we'll have to wait and see.